at the whole scenario and how everything played out, it was difficult to establish a motive that was sensible and credible and constructive. So a lot of people are beginning to think perhaps there are people who are opposed to the Yoruba nation agitation who perhaps are interested in either slowing down or totally extinguishing the movement. And you and I know that one good way to extinguish any movement is to discredit it.
Discredit it, yeah.
To label it with negativity. And what better way than to say this is a terrorist organization? So there are those who have the thinking that perhaps it is people who are opposed to the movement that sponsor these fifth columnists within the movement, and then perhaps they induce them
it can't
or
be
brainwash them
It can't be far-fetched
to take that action.
And the reason I'm saying it can't be far-fetched is, and it goes back to what we said initially when we started, that what could have driven them? Who could have said, go there, do it, knowing full well that you're not going to achieve anything? Because I'm sure that Onitiri, the woman who gave that broadcast, knew in her heart of hearts that nothing was going to come out of it. But by so doing, you've now labeled an Akintoye who has been doing his own work quietly. As I said, whether you like it, his style or not, but at least he's achieving.
Yes, he has made tremendous progress.
And he's been so methodical in the way he's been going about it.
Yes.
So when someone now woke up and said, we are hoisting flag, we are taking over, and you went with amulets and charms that didn't even work anyway, and cutlasses, and you're thinking, okay. So that angle, you cannot rule it out. Is it a way of slowing down Baba or completely discrediting whatever he's been doing?
So if that angle can be pursued, would we be able to get something out of it, considering the fact that the guys who were apprehended have been arraigned and they have been charged, and the security operatives are not saying anything regarding whether there are sponsors they're looking for? I mean, you and I know that if it was in other crimes, those guys will be locked up somewhere so that they can debrief them.
Absolutely.
And then so that they can trail and trace them, so that they can rewind their life back to the last 10, 15, 20 years. Who have they been associating with? Where have they been going? What's on their phone? What are their SMS messages? And so on and so forth. Where do they live? Who have they been hanging out with? And some of those people will have been either followed or profiled or picked up even by now. But we don't hear any such
No,
thing.
we don't.
It seems as if all of our investigations were just restricted to that incident. Onitiri will make declaration, the miscreants who went there, and then let's just pick them up, try them and prosecute them.
And we took a tractor to Onitiri's house, a crime scene, and we destroyed it.
Thank you for going there.
And
Because
thinking,
I looked at
that's
a
a
number
crime
of the
scene.
videos, because we look at the fallout after the incident, and I saw the way evidence was being tampered with. Of this magnitude is that to the very last they should be processed, even up to the footprint on the ground on which they walked should be processed. The vehicle that conveyed them, I think it was a bus, should be processed. But all manner of tamperings were done with what was seized on them. They were even tearing those amulets and touching it and taking off them, pulling off their clothes. And then some of the people who escaped to adjoining usage, I saw the way they were packing
their clothes with hands,
from inside one room like that, and they were throwing it outside. They were packing it and throwing it, and they were even encouraging Kugugwewa. And I said, shouldn't this place be first cordoned off? And then shouldn't it be processed, even spend weeks on that area alone? Then they found Onitiri's house and it was pulled down, and I thought to myself, with my own little experience about this matter, I said, we have tampered with the evidence.
But that's what's happened, because that's a crime scene.
It's a crime scene.
I mean, in some other countries, I don't like to use the word saying crimes, and there's no crime that is not seen. In other countries, that place will be totally cordoned off. You know, I saw some media people going there, walking around, and I'm thinking, no, this is not the right thing to do if you're looking for evidence. Because they shouldn't make that mistake of just narrowing it to Onitiri and those
people.
They need to look at the wider picture.
The
net need to be thrown up very wide,
widely,
so that everyone involved, they will know. Because you see, if you just look at the fact that they came to invade, there are other factors. The underlying factors is what I believe they should be looking at. God forbid, it might be the start of something that we can handle. You understand?
I do.
There are people who I think ought to be sitting down in a room now and be analyzing what happened.
Different scenarios.
And be analyzing what happened. How did it happen? And as you rightly said, some of those you've arrested, trace back the association.
Yes.
5 years, 10 years. Who have you been relating with? How did you get to this stage? So it's not just something that we've arrested them.
Before they were even paraded. Because definitely if anybody had anything to do with them with regards to that ugly incident, the person would have taken flight by now.
Oh yeah.
So before they were even paraded, arrest them, take them under custody, so that people don't even know their identity.
No, their identity.
And then you can now begin to debrief them. You can begin to process
I mean,
them.
when I was looking at all the circumstances that surrounded it, the arrest, demolition, and I'm thinking, okay, it shows that you guys, you've concluded in your mind that the investigation should be Onitiri and those guys that were arrested. Then you're not going to learn anything from it.
We're not going to learn anything.
We won't learn anything, and we won't know what propelled them. So that, don't be surprised, and I'm not a prophet of doom. Maybe in 12 months' time, another group springs up. This time, with more sophisticated weapons.
And better prepared.
That might just be a dry run to see what they can achieve. And they turn up with sophisticated. Who knows?
So you would have favored preemptive operation. Proactively seek out to find out. In fact, look for what is not. As we say.
Those guys should have been sat down in one room. Take care of them.
Isolated.
Get everything you want to get from them.
And then begin to move quietly.
So when they said the property was demolished, and I said, that's a crime scene. Don't touch a crime scene for now.
You have tampered with evidence.
You need more. You need to get more out of that place. I saw a famous radio guy. He was there, moving up and down. And I kept thinking, Mr. Man, you have no business there.
And people who were not trained were even touching things and throwing things around in the building.
You see, and we mustn't lose sight of the fact that this is a federal country, Federal Republic of Nigeria. And the agitation, we must understand that the agitation is not unusual. We shouldn't lie to ourselves. It's not unusual. That, oh God, some people said they want to go away. It's not the first time. It happens in several countries, particularly in a federal country. You can rule that out. Because I've read...
Even in Great Britain.
I've read tons of stories in the papers. Like, oh, this Armageddon, apocalypse. Why should somebody say they want to leave? And I'm thinking, hello, are you living in the real world? Even in Britain.
Even in Britain, as we speak.
Scotland is still there. They want to go.
There are people who still want to go.
They want to leave from the Union. I mentioned Spain.
Spain.
The Catalan.
Catalan.
I know a very successful football coach who said he will never coach Spanish national team because he's Catalan. We all know him. I won't mention his name. He said it's because it's Catalan. He said I can't.
So separatist agitation is not a new thing, as long as it's not
how do you manage that?
coordinated with.
And mind you, Femi, the thing is, if we don't get our own nation state right, if we don't get it right, such agitations, at some point, it will no longer be an aberration. It will be the norm. And the reason I'm saying this is this. I mean, look at our brothers in the southeast. They're disillusioned. Generally. They're disillusioned. They feel they are not part of this arrangements. That the arrangements have neglected them. So at the slightest opportunity, they say, oh no, we are not Nigerians.
Ditto for South-South.
Look at South-South. South-South will tell you that we can stay on our own.
Yes, ditto for North-Central. And even in the Northwest,
I read
there are portions of people in the Southern Kaduna.
Not even Southern Kaduna.
Part of Nigeria.
I read a lot of materials from the North. Even the Hausa.
Even the Hausa.
The Hausas are saying no. We are being dominated by the Fulani.
We don't want this arrangement.
Exactly. So we need the country, Nigeria, must be prepared to look at the underlying reasons why these agitations keep growing.
I like to talk in specific terms.
Yes.
When you say the country Nigeria, let's zero in the owners of Nigeria, the powers that control governance and the instrumentality of legality in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Let's direct our statements at them. You know, because when we say the country Nigeria, it's nebulous, and anybody can hide under that.
You see,
to say it's not me they're talking to.
I think that in 64 years as an independent nation, generally, and I'm being harsh here, we've tried to live a lie as a nation. We've tried to sweep so many things that we should have confronted. We sweep it under the carpet. And I say this all the time now, that the carpet is now so full, it has become undulating, and it's stripping us once in a while. When the carpet is no longer smooth, it starts stripping you.
It trips.
And those are the things we have, because there's so many things that we ought to have addressed over time.
So presently,
that because of the
we are
unity,
staggering now. We shouldn't wait until we fall.
We shouldn't wait until we fall. You see, I look at the National Assembly at the moment, again trying to toy with the idea of, oh, let's tweak the constitution. And I'm saying that, guys, President Obasanjo had the confab in 2005. Jonathan had his in 2014.
Yeah.
Before
then we had series of
yes. If you are actually sincere about making this nation work for all of us, why don't you go and dust up those recommendations and see the ones that we can implement that will then bring inclusivity? The challenge we have is because parts are thinking, I don't feel I belong into this country.
Yeah.
I don't feel I belong. I feel I'm being repressed.
So you feel that we should think and look beyond the incident that happened last Saturday or so, and that we should be willing as a nation to confront our difficult conversations.
Confront our demons, that's the word I will use. Let's confront it. I was at a program a few months ago, and I told them that, look, we keep saying that years ago, oh, Nigeria is sitting on a time bomb. Nigeria is sitting on a keg of gunpowder. Nigeria is sitting on a time bomb. And I tell them, and I ask them, a time bomb, what is it meant to do? It's timed to explode. We are no longer sitting on a time bomb. Ours have exploded.
Whoa.
That's why we have banditry everywhere. Someone was asking me last week, they've killed so many of these bandits. Why are there still many? I said, oh God, there are millions. Because for years, we have neglected in doing the right things. So, when we started this democracy as an example,
when the ante was this high, we didn't do anything. Like the mountain.
So,
all the ants are
in 1999, as an example, when we started this democracy, that 5-year-old boy in 1999 is now 30 years old in 2024. You understand my point? And we did not cater for them. We neglected them. We were carrying on. We became the Nero that was fiddling when Rome was burning. So we felt, oh no, everything will be fine. So if you look at the development or the growth of Almajiri in the north as an example, and there were loads of them. So the leaders over there have carried on as if nothing is going to happen. That is what came back to bite them. The kids that they didn't cater for. And these kids are exposed to everything. Social media. Gone are the days when all they were exposed to was the Malam told them at the Quranic school. No. They say they have their phones. They too want to live a good life.
They are online.
So these guys have been let loose. That is what we are facing.
And we have them all over the country in different guises. Because when you talk about kidnapping even in the southwest, it's banditry of some sort.
Absolutely.
If you talk about people blowing up oil installations in the south, it's all about.
It is all about money.
Banditry.
Look at IPOB.
Electricity installations, the national grid, people blowing them up. It's all about banditry.
Look at IPOB in southeast.
Yes. So it's a response to discontent, with the system.
All because we failed over time to address the fundamentals.
Do you think it's too late?
No, you see, it isn't too late. You see, it only takes...
But some people believe it's a lost game.
No, you see, it takes a leader that is bold, courageous, a leader who is single-minded as well. That, look, we need to turn this country round to make it acceptable and equitable for all of us.
But that's just one person.
No. What I'm trying to say is this. If that one person can even take that lead,
yes,
and say that, okay, let me give you an example. Look at the way we manage our resources. And some people feel, oh, our resources is not even getting to us properly. Some sits on it in Abuja. There's been several recommendations on how we can do revenue allocation to make it more inclusive, which has never been accepted. Look at the insecurity we have today. There's been several recommendations that are saying that security has to be bottoms up, not top down.
Yes.
That's okay. Let us even start by having our state police. I'm just giving those little examples. Look at our judiciary in the United States. Yes, they have the Supreme Court, but the states have their own Supreme Court. I'm sure you know. They have their own apex courts. There are several things that can be devolved, and I'm saying this guardedly, from the center, that would then make our people have a sense of belonging. You see, when the colonial masters were living and they bequeathed that system of government for us, they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing. Government is now so far removed. That's why I say this all the time, that the luckiest set of politicians we have are governors, because they get away with murder. Nobody holds them to account.
Yes.
It's the president
focused on the center.
on the center, because everybody thinks everything is at the center. Whereas
and the center gives that impression. And I think there's a lot of things that with the center that should have been shed off.
Shed off.
But you seem to be echoing the thinking of some people that restructuring the first step to take us out of this doldrum. Because we cannot even begin to think of going to the El Dorado because we are in a doldrum.
We are in a doldrum. I agree with you.
And so if we're going to go that path, which to all logical minds, that's the pathway out of this doldrum. There are vested interests who are profiting from the mess presently. And if a president makes a move, they will rush at that president. So that's why I said earlier that, if you have someone at the center who means well and knows what to do, it's just one person. He still has to contend with the National Assembly. He has to contend with all of the pockets of demons that are all over the nation.
Let me stop you again.
Please.
Just a few days ago, Dangote Refinery had to come out to debunk something that was circulating online, that the sulfur content in their diesel is too high and it will damage vehicles. And they had to come out and say, no, this is a big lie. In fact, the sulfur content on our own diesel is lower than the one being imported. And I said to myself that, Mr. Dangote, you are confronting the demons.
They must fight back.
They must fight back.
They must anticipate.
Because suddenly, those who are making billions by importing diesel will no longer be able to import diesel. So, and we have pockets of demons like that. They won't just sit back. No. Look at our currency. There are those who are feeding fat.
From day one, when Tinubu made the announcement at the Good Square, I said, expect this.
There are those who are feeding fat on it. So whatever measures
and that's what I said when Airpeace was complaining that the British establishment in the aviation sector was strangulating and twisting them. And I said, what was Airpeace expecting?
Give them confetti?
This is business. You are coming in and you are going to take their lunch. So they're going to fight you back. And it's not just because you're Nigerian. It's those who are painting that picture or dichotomy of is black versus white. I said they did it to Richard Branson. If you go to the origin of Virgin Airlines, it's a British knighted by the Queen, but when he decided to move into a sector that the establishment controlled, they fought him hard, and he fought hard too.
I was in Britain then. So I followed the
So you
trajectory.
witnessed
I
it?
witnessed it. That was why I told some people, I said, it's not a matter of black.
So
or white.
Onyema should have anticipated and preempted that this is the kind of thing that will happen. So just back to what you were saying.
So until a leader at the center is ready to say, maybe I don't even need a second time. I'm just saying this.
Damn the consequences.
Damn the consequences. I will go head on. That we need to change certain things. Trust me. When we had the regions in those days, not that I'm advocating we should go back to regions. I'm just saying that when we had regions, everybody was developing at their own pace.
Yes. And there was healthy competition.
Everybody was happy, doing their own thing. But the moment we centralized everything to one, we started having these major issues. It's as simple as that. Look, if you travel from Ibadan now and you're going to Ife, I mean, the road is criminally bad.
Yeah.
And they will say, it's federal road.
Yeah, because everybody's thing is nobody's thing. You and I know it's human nature.
And I said, in 8 years of Buhari, he never traveled on Ibadan Ife road. He didn't.
No.
So, it can't be a priority to him. Why can't an Osun, Oyo, possibly even Ondo states,
Yes.
team up,
And
Ekiti, team up and say, this is a major artery
Yes.
for our own economic development.
Yeah.
We want to do it. You understand my point?
Yeah.
Nigeria should go to that level and forget all. But what will help that also is when we first of all do what I call fiscal restructuring.
Okay.
You understand? Because people say restructure. I said, well, let's even start with fiscal. Is it 52% that the federal government is getting from national cake? Can you shave off 10% of it? Let it go down to the states, and let's see if there are changes.
Okay.
I believe that the moment people know that there's more responsibility down in the states,
Okay.
the capacity of leaders that they are electing will change.
And then the focus on the center will be directed now at the state. Okay. You
Then
have
the
a point
capacity of the leaders will
there. You have a
change.
point there. And at any rate, when you clamor to the center will say, it's no longer in my hand.
No
though.
longer in my hand.
It's now in the hand of your governor.
Look at electricity.
Yes.
Now, the states no longer have a hiding place. Yes, they can say TCN, but the states now have a lot of powers over these discos.
Because
Just a few days ago, the disco in Ekiti was handed over to Ekiti. Well, just told Ekiti state government, you can take
trying
it.
to go into mining now.
Absolutely. And
You
even
know.
Oyo State is also trying to do one or two things in electricity generation.
Yes.
So that I told
So
some of my
we're
friends that
diffusing.
in a few years' time, maybe 3-4 years down the road, nobody will be looking at President Tinubu for
If
electricity.
the policy is sustained.
And what
Because
they
there were a
want to
number of
sustain.
policies that were instituted during Obasanjo time that we were already making progress as a nation. Yaradua, obliterated and even cancelled some
He
of
did
them.
it. He obliterated it.
Yes.
You-
And there were some that he also continued, which Jonathan sustained. There were some that Jonathan instituted, which would have taken us some notches high, which Buhari came and sat on, or even, but all of that will be on the realm of presupposition, because we cannot talk about what's going to happen in the future in definite terms. Let's even start it, which we have started it now, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But we're still talking about vested interest.
Yeah.
If you have a president who sees the merit in a proposition and has the political will sufficiently to pursue it and damns the consequences as you have stated,
Yeah.
the vested interests are not going to sit back. I mean, recently you see President Tinubu. I think this is the first time, and I want to be corrected, please. I didn't say I stand to be corrected. I want to be corrected. I think this is the first time a Nigerian president is queuing behind state police.
It is.
Obasanjo just said
Totally.
it's not even going to happen.
Totally against it.
And successive presidents have been quiet about it. But he came and spoke vociferously in support of
You're
it.
right.
And he even said, let's start with forest guards, while the process is still ongoing. But then, about 2 weeks later, the IG spoke forcefully against it. And you and I can deduce that this is about vested interest. Oh, you are going to take powers away from the center as an IG. So that's one example of several instances where vested interest will rise up.
But you're right. You're right. That vested interest. That's why I said that. You see, you need a leader who is single-minded. And I keep saying this. You see, if we keep thinking of, oh, maybe as a politician, my second term, you're probably not going to do anything. But if you think, I've got this opportunity in 4 years, and I want to make all these changes, and you can get as much as possible people in the National Assembly on your side.
Yeah.
When Mr. Egbetokun was talking the other day, and he said, there are former presidents in that audience, and he said, no, it does not believe in state police. And I kept thinking, okay, you don't want to lose your own power. But Mr. Egbetokun, why don't you see beyond that? That assuming that we have had state police, the killings in Plateau might not have happened because the intelligence will be better. The example, I can share the example of Amotekun here in Southwest with you. Yes, they don't carry arms, have sophisticated arms, but the people still believe in them. It's because security is meant to be bottoms up, not top down. So, Mr. Egbetu, I read a document recently. What Mr. Egbetu is still talking about is the police structure that the colonial masters left 70 years ago or 80 years ago.
Can you blame him? He spent about 30 years in that system,
but
being programmed.
He has to understand.
To think along that line.
He has to understand that he has to move with time.
So he needs to relearn.
If you travel now on Lagos Ibadan Express Road, majority of those vehicles you will see are Amotekun vehicles, which means the states have taken ownership of that place. His Excellency Governor Akpabio, about a week ago, launched drones.
Yes.
They bought drones.
And I've been talking about these drones for more than 10 years.
They bought drones.
I said, kidnappings on the highway.
Exactly.
Why can't we
have drones?
Have drones. But the police never wanted to do that.
Ekiti bought drones under Governor Fayemi. But the NSA never gave the approval. They had to go to Abuja. That is part of the fault lines in our federalism.
Yes.
So Ekiti bought drones, but they could not use it because
they need permission.
Because Abuja did not give them the permission, and they never gave the permission.
Yes.
And you're thinking, but why? They said, in fact, they got to some point and said, okay, we'll give the permission if only the military are the ones operating it. And the Ekiti said,
why are we
why do I
asking for permission? The military is already under your purview.
If you get my point. So the challenge...
About for Akeredolu, late Governor Akeredolu, Amotekun will not be in existence today.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because the federal was resisting it.
All the roadblocks that could have aborted Amotekun was put there. But as you rightly said, thank God for the sagacity of the late Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, who knew what to do. And I remember they said something, God bless him wherever he is. They said, when this baby is born, you will no longer have the ability to abort it. So when we gave birth to Amotekun, and they were now saying, oh, it has no legislative backing, if you remember.
I do.
They now all went back to do legislative backing. And people thought it was an error or it was a mistake. Now, why didn't they do legislative backing? But it wasn't a mistake. It was deliberate.
Yes.
Because they knew that if they had started with legislative backing, one man would have gone to court.
Of course.
And I stopped them. And said, you can't do that. And that's it. Their hands will have been tied. So they said, no, we'll do this. We'll give birth to the baby. Then we're going to look for a name for the baby.
To give it legal backing.
That's what they did. And that's why it happened.
That's how they outsmarted.
If they had started the process by saying, okay, legislative backing for want to set up, somebody will go to a court in Abuja.
While the process is ongoing.
They will just go to the court in Abuja and stop it. So, we need to be wise. This is a country that we need to make it work. But we cannot keep going on.
We'll be speaking with Mr. Sheye Oyeleye, the Director General of the Development Agenda for Western Nigeria Dawn Commission. And someday he'll be back here. He's a friend of the house. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, sir.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.